and today I'm going to be doing my March TBR. So I had a great reading month last month. I ended up reading a lot of books. However, in March I want to try and do something a little bit different, and it's something that I want to try and do for the rest of the year. It's a little bit of a challenge where I'm going to have 6 books that fit a theme, I guess. Basically, my problem is there are so many new releases that I have trouble keeping up with, so many old releases that I haven't gotten the chance to get to, so many classics I want to get to, so many arcs I need to get to. I just can't keep up with it all. So I have made myself a list of 6 things that I want to try and hit with every monthly TBR. Now that means there is a book per item, so I don't always read 6 books a month, so I won't always be able to accomplish this, but it is at least something to strive for. So the first of the 6 things isn't really anything new, and that's that I'm going to try and read 1 classic every month. Now, while it's not new, it's something that I don't always accomplish, especially now that I'm no longer in school and I've graduated. I don't read nearly as many classics as I used to. So for this month's classic, I'm hoping to get to Matilda by Roald Dahl. I've never read this book before. I remember watching the movie as a kid. I don't think I liked it very much. I was very contrary, which really I still am, but I have like my taste, and anything that veers away from that, I'm like, no. But I feel like looking at it as an adult with a fresh set of eyes could be really interesting. This is also a really short classic, and it has illustrations in it, so I'm excited to try it. The second thing from my list of 6 is that I'm going to read a book that has been on my TBR for an extended period of time. So I have 1 book that has been on my TBR since 2014, a few that have been there since 2015, and then a few that have been there since 2016. The bulk of the books on my TBR are from 2017. I can literally pinpoint when my TBR started exploding, and that's when I started working at a bookstore. My TBR went from like here to here. But for this month, the book that I've chosen is 1,000 Nights by E.K. Johnston. This book has been on my TBR since 2016 or 2015. If it's 2016, it's really early 2016. I've tried reading it before and I couldn't get into it, but I broke my golden rule with this book, which is that I don't buy a sequel if I own the first book and haven't read it yet. And this one is especially bad since I had tried reading it and couldn't really get into it. But I bought the sequel for this one because the covers are so beautiful, and it's Canadian author, so I just couldn't resist. So if I can't get through this one this month, it's gonna have to go, unfortunately. But this is an Arabian Nights retelling, which I've read many of, so I think that's why I struggle with them so much, and this one is written in kind of an abstract way, but I'm hoping I'll like it, especially because I have the sequel. Why did I do that to myself? My third challenge is to read a book that was released in the previous month, so I went with By a Charm and a Curse by Jaime Questell. I don't actually have many February releases on my TBR at the moment, or at least not that I could see. March is a month where I have a ton of new releases that are coming out that I want to read. I received this book pretty recently though, and I'm very intrigued by it. It's about this cursed circus, which I think just sounds so cool. I love circus books, so I have high expectations for this one. And it honestly just happened to be I really wanted to read it, and it was released last month, so it just kind of worked out very organically. So the fourth challenge kind of makes sense if you've been following along. I've been going from old to newer, so next is a new release from this month. So like I just mentioned, March is literally the month of new releases. It is ridiculous, so I have my bullet journal here that has some of the new releases I'm looking forward to the most. I don't know the dates for when these are coming out, but first we have Obsidio by Amy Kaufman and Kristoff. This is the 3rd book to the Illuminae files, and I don't know if it's the final book, but I have pre-ordered it, so I'm so excited for it to come in. This series is so cool. I love the audiobooks, so that will definitely be an easy one to get off of my TBR. Next is The Price Guide to the Occult by Leslye Walton. This is a book that I had no clue existed until I saw on Instagram. Quite a few people had been hauling it, and it's coming out in March, and Leslye Walton is the author of The Strange and Beautiful Sorrows of Ava Lavender, which is one of my favorite books of all time. So when I saw that she had a new release coming out, I was like, I need this, and I need to read it immediately. Oh, I actually do have the date when it's coming out. So it's coming out on the 13th, so as soon as it comes out, I'm going to read it. Also, Obsidio is coming out on the 13th as well. Next is Children of Blood and Bone, and I don't even know the author for this one, which is so bad, but I have been seeing this book everywhere, like literally everywhere. I have no clue what it's about, but the cover is beautiful. I've been requesting the arc and no one gave it to me, which is so sad. But I've heard nothing but good things about this one. It's a pretty hefty fantasy from my understanding, and it's coming out on the 6th, and I'm gonna read it right away because I really, really want it. And the final new release is Restore Me by Tahereh Mafi, the ever so anticipated sequel to the original trilogy of the Shatter Me trilogy. That was a weird way to say that sentence, but we got there. I'm super apprehensive about this one, I'm not gonna lie. I am interested to see what I'm going to think about it now that I have read so much more since when I originally read Shatter Me. I feel like my expectations are so much higher than when I originally read it. I do love Tahereh Mafi's writing though, and plus, I mean, she has also changed as a writer since she wrote the original 3 books, so I'm just super intrigued and I can't wait to see how it is and what people think of it, specifically Whitney over at Witty Novels, obviously, because I know that she has just been blowing up my feet with all of her obsession over it, which is hilarious. The second to last challenge is to read an arc from the coming month, and I actually only have one, and that is Ace of Shades by Amanda Foody. This is coming out on April 10th. It is Amanda Foody's second novel. She wrote Daughter of a Burning City last year, which was really cool, very different. And this one sounds like it's going to be just as different. It's like this casino town, and there's different mobster families. I'm so intrigued by it and can't wait to dive into it. There's also like finishing schools and stuff, so it sounds like a very weird mix of basically everything, but I'm down for that. And the final and 6th challenge is kind of my lowest priority of them all, but it is to read a sequel. I have a ton of sequels on my TBR right now, which doesn't happen too often since I don't generally pick up sequels. It's very rare that I do. I have to have really enjoyed the first book. But Obsidio or Restore Me could count for this challenge, but I also have Map of Fates by Maggie Hall. This is the second book of The Conspiracy of Us, probably a trilogy, which I read a while ago, and I actually have the audiobook of this one available through the library, so I think I might pick up the audiobook. This is one of those books that I wasn't expecting to enjoy, and I really did end up enjoying. It's a really cool concept where there's like this circle of people and they control everything that happens in the world. So I'm very interested to see what is going to happen in the sequel. I'm definitely going to need to give myself a little bit of a refresher though on what happened in the first book. I just wanted to touch on these really quickly, but I have 3 arcs here that I'm hoping to get to. So first we have Tyler Johnson Was Here by J. Coles. This is coming out in March, and it's said to be in the vein of The Hate U Give, and since it's a March release, I'd really like to get to it. Similarly is Love and Other Carnivorous Plants by Florence Gonsalves. This, I believe, deals with a lesbian romance. I'm not entirely sure, but I think it does, but this is a March release, so I want to get to it. And the final arc on my TBR is Puddin by Julie Murphy. This is coming out, I think, in May, May. I don't know the exact date, but I did really enjoy Dumpling by Julie Murphy, so I would really like to get to this one as soon as I can. Now, just getting into the random books on my TBR, next we have And I Darken by Kirsten White. My friends and I had talked briefly about doing kind of a little mini book club thing, and I think we're still doing it. I haven't heard if we're not, but this was the first book that we had talked about reading, and I think we were going to read it in March, which is why here we are. I've started listening to the audiobook for this book, and the audiobook just wasn't really working for me, but I've heard such amazing things about it that I'm excited to dive into it, and I think it'll be very fun to discuss it with my friends. Next is Far From the Tree by Robin Benway. This ended up winning, I think it was the National Book Award, but it is also said to be just like This Is Us, which I've only watched, I think, most of the first season. I'm not caught up at all, I'm sorry. I just don't watch TV that much, but I do enjoy the show, and the concept for this one sounds very interesting and also heartbreaking at the same time. So it's about these siblings who all were brought up by different people. Some were in foster care, others were adopted. There's 3 of them. I don't know why I'm acting like there's like 12, but then they end up coming together and looking for their birth mother together. So I feel like this could be so good, and I'm excited. Next is Dare Mighty Things by Heather Kaczynski. This is a book that I started reading and then I got distracted by something, but I was liking it. It's about these kids who I believe they're in a competition to go to the moon. I honestly heard it from Books and Lala, and I was like, yeah, I want it. You liked it, so I'm gonna try it. Which is really funny because I don't have the same taste in books as Books and Lala at all, but I still like really trust her opinion and love her videos. I don't know. So weird how that works out sometimes. Next is Uprooted by Naomi Novik. Around springtime, I really like reading retellings, and I know that this one is a retelling. I'm not sure exactly what fairy tale. I think it's just all sorts of different ones, but I know one of my coworkers just read it and really enjoyed it, so it has kind of bumped its way up on my TBR. Next is Wicked Like a Wildfire by Lena Popović. This is a fantasy novel that I received in a fairy loot a long time ago, and I haven't read it yet, but I love the cover so much. I haven't really heard anything about people actually like talking about the contents of it, but the cover is so beautiful that I'm hoping the inside will match. I feel like it's kind of like a weird fantasy sort of magical realism thing. I don't even really know what it's about. I'm just like, you're beautiful, so I want to see if I like you. I clearly do not follow the rule, don't judge a book by its cover, but I'm just a very visual person, okay? A cover is a big deal. And the final book on my March TBR is The Forbidden Orchid by Sharon Biggs Waller. I'm actually reading A Mad Wicked Folly by Sharon Biggs Waller right now, and I'm not very far into it, but I am enjoying it. I started reading this one in 2016 when I was on my way to France, but then in France I didn't do any actual reading because I was just French and about. I don't even know what that means. What does that mean? Drinking a lot of wine and hanging out with cows and eating baguettes and stuff. That was just my experience of France on the countryside. But I was very intrigued by this concept. It's all about this girl whose father is like a hunter for exotic plants, and there's this orchid, and she decides to go to China to try and find it. This sounds so unique, and I'm very intrigued. So those are all of the books that are on my March TBR. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you guys enjoyed, don't forget to subscribe. I put out new videos every Monday and Thursday, as well as some bonus videos sometimes. You can also follow me on my social media. I have Twitter, and my Twitter is at HailesInBookland, and I also have Instagram, and my Instagram is at HaileyInBookland, but all that information is down below for you guys. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!